Thank you all for joining us today. I'm excited to talk with you a bit about the Stanford Ignite part-time program and get your questions answered as we approach the application deadline. So my name is Kelsey. I'm the Associate Director for Ignite programs here at Stanford GSB. I'm joined today by my colleague Jiaying, who's the program manager. So the two of us are the kind of logistics team throughout the program. We manage all the day-to-day while you're in the Ignite program. Our faculty director is Yossi Feinberg, and he is a professor of management and economics and is responsible for all the curriculum kind of design and has been directing Ignite for well over a decade now. So the three of us will run the program for you in the winter, and we'll share more about that as we progress. So Stanford Ignite is a rigorous academic program. So our goal is to have a highly academic experience where you'll learn the fundamentals of business and also the practical aspects of driving an innovative venture forward. To achieve that goal, we bring in a dozen of the most experienced professors at Stanford GSB. So we're really fortunate that we get to work almost exclusively with senior tenured faculty, and then we bring in a couple of exceptional lectures to round out the curriculum. They all teach in the MBA and MSX programs, and then for Ignite, they will kind of tailor their content specifically to Ignite. So the faculty will be teaching, economics, accounting, what have you, but they'll be doing kind of the 3 hours of accounting that they feel are most valuable for an early stage entrepreneur. And they'll be focusing their content to the entrepreneurial experience rather than, the broader education that they would do in a quarter-long MBA class. The academic instruction is broken into a few categories. We'll have your core business skills, things like marketing and finance, the things you would expect to find like a business textbook on. So we'll make sure that you're getting a solid foundation in those and learning kind of these core skills with the entrepreneurial lens. We also incorporate a number of applied skills, things like negotiation and communication, that are, of course, critical for an entrepreneur to have, but also are kind of important for everyone to have in their careers. So we'll make sure that you're getting a kind of a well-rounded entrepreneurship and generally business education. In addition to these kind of specific topics, we will have a couple of entrepreneurship-focused classes. So while every professor will address entrepreneurship and will be talking about their field of study through the entrepreneurial lens, we will also then bring in specific entrepreneurship faculty, a design thinking session, a session on founders and equity, so to make sure that you're getting that really specific content as well. The team venture project is also a significant component of Ignite. So you'll have about 100 hours in the classroom during the Ignite program. And in addition to that, we'll expect you to have about 100 hours outside of the classroom working in your team venture project. So at the beginning of the program, participants are placed into a team of typically 5 to 6 to work on an idea that belongs to one of the team members. You'll then develop that idea as though it's a real-world startup as you go through the Ignite program. Our goal is for you to have a hands-on, more real-world way to immediately apply the knowledge that you're gaining in the classroom. So for example, you'll have business models with Professor Mendelsohn, and then about a week later, your business model assignment for your venture project will be due. So we'll kind of guide you through this process of going from, refining the early stage idea to ultimately developing a full pitch deck to as though you would pitch to investors at the end. To help you work through the project component, we'll provide a mentor for each team. So that's an experienced entrepreneur, typically in a relevant field, who can kind of give an outside perspective and help coach you and provide feedback on the venture. And you'll also have regular check-ins with Professor Feinberg. So he'll meet with each team individually 3 times during the program to make sure that you're getting specific feedback on your assignments and also the concept of your venture as a whole. to make sure that you're getting all the support that you need to get the most out of the venture project and in turn the program itself. In addition to the faculty, we'll also bring in a number of collaborators. These include guest speakers who are alumni of the Ignite program and are now, doing their own entrepreneurial ventures at different stages. We'll bring in panelists and mentors, and these are going to be business experts from the Silicon Valley. Typically, we'll bring in a number of early stage VCs as well as successful entrepreneurs who are in the greater GSB network to provide different feedback and lectures throughout the program. At the end of Ignite, each team will pitch to a panel of VCs and entrepreneurs. We set this up to feel like a real, a pitch to a VC for funding. However, there's no actual funding in Ignite. Instead, you'll have the opportunity to get robust feedback from the panelists to help you to help you refine your own pitch and also to find out what it is that would lead them to invest in a venture or not. There are a few benefits that we hope that you take away from the Ignite program. One is just learning the language of business, regardless of whether you are currently an entrepreneur, are considering launching a company in the near future, or are maybe planning not to. If you are preparing to graduate and your plan is to work to get a job at one of the big tech companies, also great. Regardless of which path you're taking, you're going to need to know the language of business. So we want to make sure that you have kind of this vocabulary and knowledge base to be able to sit down at any table and meaningfully participate in that meeting. We'll also make sure you have the skills to develop an idea into a venture. Even if the project you're working on in Ignite isn't your own, or maybe by the end of the program you realize, hey, this is probably not the project I'm going to work on forever. I don't know if this will be successful as a venture. That's all totally fine. At the end of Ignite, even if your project isn't something that you're going to move forward with, you'll have this kind of toolkit that you can apply to whatever you work on in the future, whether that's your own venture or an innovative project or initiative at a larger established company. We also aim to help you improve your teamwork, leadership, and public speaking skills. Within the venture project, there will be rotating leadership, and we'll provide some coaching to help you, improve your CEO type skills. And then finally, we hope to expand your professional network. So the Ignite program alumni is now at about 3,000 global past participants. So our hope is that you'll walk away with a network of program alumni, mentors and panelists that you met through the program, and also strong relationships with the other 70 some odd folks that were in your cohort so that you can lean on each other as you develop your careers in the future. Our participants tend to come about half from Stanford, so grad students and postdocs from across campus. And then the other half are typically a mix of working professionals from outside of Stanford. Many come from major companies. We also get a range of entrepreneurs that will join us for Ignite. So early stage entrepreneurs are typically the best suited for Ignite. I'm happy to talk more about specific stages of your career and offline if you have questions about kind of where you fit in the participant profile. But we'll aim to bring in a pretty diverse group so that folks from different industries, different stages of their career are all getting together on the venture teams and in the classroom to learn not only from the faculty, but also from each other. We'll have a mix of working professionals from both the Bay Area and outside of California. And then in general, about 80% of our participants have an advanced degree, though it's not required. We do require a bachelor's degree or equivalent as a kind of basic prerequisite. The Ignite program this winter will run from January 11th to March 5th, and the classes will be on evenings and weekends. almost all of the classes will be Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 6 to 9, and then Saturdays from 9 to 5. However, every once in a while, we'll wind up having something on like a Wednesday or a Monday during that time, especially if the holiday schedule gets weird. But for the most part, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday are the Ignite days. Before you arrive on campus, we also have a pre-program component that happens online starting December 3rd. So that's when you'll have the opportunity to start learning or meeting each other, reviewing case studies, reviewing some of the early assignments, and submitting an idea to potentially become one of the team venture projects. The cost for non-Stanford participants is $14,950. So that's our standard tuition. And then we do have a discount for Stanford participants thanks to a subsidy from VPGE. So in order to qualify for that Stanford discount, you need to be an active, like a current graduate student or current postdoc while the program is happening, or have completed your postdoc or graduated in the quarter immediately prior to the program. So if you're graduating at the end of winter quarter this year, or end of fall quarter, excuse me, you're all good for the reduced rate for part-time 2026. At the end of the program, you'll receive a certificate of participation. So there are no grades or academic credit hours, but certificates are granted based on having completed program requirements and milestones and being an active participant in class. If you're traveling to Stanford from outside of the area, the most common type of visa is a tourist visa, though some people may already have an active business visa that allows them to travel to California, in which case you're welcome to travel on that as well. However, Ignite doesn't make you eligible for a student visa. Because Ignite is a professional development program, even though it's an educational program, you're considered to be a visitor doing a professional development program, not a student in a degree granting program. And Stanford can't sponsor participants for visas, unfortunately. During Ignite, meals and housing are not included with the exception of a few special events where we'll provide a meal. However, parking is free during program hours and gym access is available on campus. Most participants who travel to Stanford for the program stay in long-term or like short-term rentals off campus, Airbnbs, extended stay hotels, that type of thing. The application process is quite selective. So we'll cap the program size at 72 to ensure that you're getting a diverse group of participants to interact with, you're meeting a wide range of people, but that you actually have the time and ability to really meet everyone and develop strong relationships with your fellow participants. Our application deadline will be Thursday, October 23rd. The admissions committee will then review applications and will send decisions in early to mid-November. That application will include the online application form, a resume or CV upload, one recommendation, which is completed via an online form. So you'll enter in your recommender's contact info and they will receive a link to complete a form. We don't need anything, nothing mailed to us or like PDFs signed on letterhead, any of that. We'll integrate that all into the form. And then you'll also have to do an online video interview. The video interview is meant to kind of mimic the process of having an in-person interview, but is set up so that you can do it on your own time at a time that's convenient to you and without having to coordinate the logistics of traveling to campus. The interview platform is called Kira, and if you haven't used it before, it can feel a little bit daunting at first. Promise, it's really not that bad. You'll have an opportunity to answer practice questions as many times as you'd like. You can answer some practice questions, leave, come back a week later, do some more practice, however much until you feel comfortable with the platform. However, once you start your actual interview, you must complete the interview in one sitting and you can only do it once. So the interview itself will take 10 to 15 minutes to complete. And then the admissions committee will be able to review your interview responses alongside your application and your recommendation. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and welcome our panelists to join us. So today I'm joined by 4 participants from the part-time 2025 cohort that happened at the beginning of this year. So panelists, thanks for joining us. I'd like to start off with just a quick introduction. So if you could share your name, a little bit of your background, and then what you're currently working on. And Adele, we'll start with you.
Great, thank you, Kelsey, and hi everyone. I'm Adele. I'm a current postdoc at Stanford University in the Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences, and I work on the application of data science and machine learning for mineral exploration. And I was a participant of Ignite part-time program last year, and it was one of the best experiences I've had at Stanford, and I learned a lot, and I'm right now applying the things that I've learned with a few of my colleagues in the department on a startup idea that we have, and we have created a team to develop our idea and uh, make it to the fundraising phase. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Hollis, we'll go to you next.
Thanks, Kelsey. Hi, everyone. My name is Hollis Rhodes, and I was in Adele's same winter 2025 Ignite program this past winter. And my background is after I graduated university, I spent 5 years working on Wall Street in finance. So I spent 2 years in investment banking doing restructuring investment banking, so dealing with companies that were distressed, i.e., bankrupt or on the verge of becoming bankrupt. And then I spent about 2.5 years at an upper middle market private equity firm called Payne Schwartz Partners doing sustainable agriculture investing. And right now, I am working on an idea that I pitched to my Ignite cohort and was not lucky enough to get selected, and have a very smart group of Igniters help me take it from an idea to something more fully formed. So I'm working on that right now, and I'm excited to answer any questions from you all.
Stephen, we'll go to you next.
Everybody, I'm Stephen Hahn. I was a part of the winter 2025 part-time Ignite program as well. I entered the program as a Stanford student, a grad student in the chemical engineering department. And currently I'm working on a startup idea with 2 friends who are not from Stanford, but I'm applying a lot of the Ignite business, I guess the business learnings I learned while like in Ignite towards our idea for helping I guess like professionals ease some of the workload that they have with software and AI.
All right, and then Mark, we'll go to you next.
Hello, so I'm also in the same cohort as everyone before me. I'm a postdoc at Stanford. I studied medicine and now I do machine learning research. So I joined as a postdoc when I was at Ignite and still am, but right now I'm working on spinning off my project from the lab into the startup industry and applying most of the things we learned at Ignite because it's pretty hard to understand the business world from a research perspective. But so we're there, yeah, now. And yeah, happy to answer questions later on.
So next, I'd love to hear from you all about what advice you have on balancing the demands of Ignite and your career or your degree program or kind of your other priorities that happen at the same time. Mark, we'll go back to you for this one.
Yeah, sure. So I can share the perspective of someone who was doing research while doing Ignite. So I think Ignite is a heavy program. It's part-time, but it's also full-time at the same time. But going in, I think it's very manageable to handle work and the Ignite program at the same time. You have to be okay with moving a bit slower with the research, but not to the point where it's like you're not doing anything. And at the same time, you have the you could manage both and really contribute to your team at Ignite and really focus on the classes and do your research at the same time. As long as you go in knowing that you have to be very organized for those 2 months, and you'll be able to manage.
Right, Stephen, we'll go to you next.
Oh yeah. I can share my perspective from the lens of a master's student. I was still taking Ignite. I was still doing coursework while completing Ignite. And what it meant for me was that I needed to be more mindful about my social obligations as well as my problem sets that I was working on. Ignite being 2 evenings a week meant that it's a commitment. However, the commitment was actually, I would say, it was absolutely worth it. The project felt a little bit more than what a class project would have been. But all in all, it was a great way to add to what I was doing on top of the course load I was taking.
Hollis, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, thanks. I had left my private equity job the November before starting Ignite. So I was able to focus on Ignite full time, which for me was really nice. And I would say my experience was sort of intentionally balancing the Ignite program with exploring different opportunities in investing and in the corporate world when I was in Palo Alto, and also taking advantage of just the Stanford network. I, at the time, was evaluating if I wanted to stay in investing or go get a corporate job or do the startup or go get my PhD in economics. And so it was great to be at a place like Stanford and Palo Alto to explore a lot of the different things that I was interested in. So the balance was, for me, it was more taking advantage of everything that Stanford had to offer and maybe not going all the way on the startup so that I could take advantage of all those things.
Right. Adele, we'll hear from you next.
Great, thanks everyone. My advisor was the one who recommended me to apply for Ignite and participate in Ignite. So I had his support in terms of spending time on the Ignite program because our research group is a successful group in generating a few startups at Stanford. So this was expected by my advisor that I may be a bit slower than normal during those 2 months, but I still could have good progress on research because I strategized my time in a way that I left my evenings and one day of a weekend free just to spend on my Ignite tasks. And generally, with the other team members in our cohort, we were spending some time after the class each time. And also, we were meeting on Saturdays generally to check in and make some progress together. And whatever we were defining for each other as the next tasks to be accomplished, we could easily find time in the next days or in the following days, for example, 1 hour a day or so. So I think the 100 hour that Kelsey mentioned is a good estimate, and I would say it is manageable if you love participating in the Ignite activities and you enjoy the teamwork with the cohort people. That's my advice. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all. And I have one more question for the four of you before we open it up to open Q&A. So my last question is, what advice you have for new participants that you wish you had had when you started Ignite? And Hollis, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I would say as someone who, as opposed to Stephen and Mark and Adele, was not an existing student at Stanford, my push would just be to take advantage of the Stanford network and all of the opportunities that are going on in Palo Alto and on the Stanford campus, and to also just take the time to get to know everyone in the program because I didn't know what to expect. And sorry, this might sound bad, Kelsey, but what the caliber of the people was going to be. And I was just really, really impressed. Everyone who did the Ignite program was incredibly impressive. So just take the time to get to know people in your cohort because when you leave, you will have everything you've learned and the people. And so in my case, I progressed my startup a little less than I would have liked during the Ignite time. Still got it to a great place, but I left and I had also attended 2 3-day economics conferences and a ton of talks on campus and off campus and have a lot of great relationships that I'm really, really grateful for. So that would be my recommendation.
Mark, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, sure. I completely agree with all this. So, like, we were on the phone maybe last week talking about some startup advice together. So, I think going in, you're overwhelmed with Ignite and managing your life. So, you tend to maybe postpone uh, interacting with people, and then time goes by so fast, and then you realize that half of Ignite's over, and you still haven't met half of the class because it's so overwhelming. So, I think focusing on that because the cohort is usually this group of extremely ambitious, energetic people who are also very fun. So trying to also find time to socialize after if or before at some point with the cohort is one of the best things you can do because once you're done, the startup will advance after Ignite, but then those connections you really have to build them well and then you'll stay connected with those people who are doing different things, but in the similar entrepreneurship like domain. So that's the most valuable thing you'll get out of it. So yeah.
Okay, Adele, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, sure. What I recommend is first, really work on your idea that you want to submit to Ignite program and try to take it serious and make it somehow convincing to the others to vote for it. And if you are successful in developing your idea during the Ignite program with the help of your cohorts, this is a great step for you to move your idea further and uh, develop it towards a venture because everyone, as other friends mentioned, everyone is serious, smart there. Everyone wants to do something real in the Ignite program, and this way you can really work on your idea as a group and receive feedback from your peers and also from the real venture capital investors at the end. So that's one of the things that I would give. And the other is that really spend time and effort on your project while you are doing the Ignite program because that's the real experience that you will take out of the Ignite program. At least it was for me. It was a real simulation of how the entrepreneurship works. For example, I realized that how important is having a co-founder that matches your personality and your ideas. And I realized that these agreements can lead to like huge challenges in a startup. This was something that I realized in the Ignite program. It's because you are really experiencing that. Yeah, that's from me. Thank you.
Great. And Stephen, we'll wrap up with you.
Yeah, so the question was what I wish I knew going into the program that I want others to know. And what I will say is I wish I put a little bit more effort into talking about ideas that I wanted to pitch. I liked my idea. Sorry, I like the project I worked on with this with the team I worked on it with. But I think in the beginning I was a little bit I guess reserved, not knowing how much of a commitment I was willing to make to drive an idea forward. Although you are pitching an idea and you're sharing an idea, you're not necessarily leading the group to build the idea. I think I wish I had spent a little bit more time understanding that I was just afraid to. It was unknown what my commitment levels could be. So I kind of shied away from sharing an idea that I wanted to build on. So I would say if you have an idea that you want to build on, and you're okay with other people working on it, sort of like I was, don't feel like you need to drive it yourself. You have other people that you'd be working with in Ignite as team members, and it's just nice to see good ideas with a little bit of business on top of it form. Also, I think the second one Hollis was saying as well, seeing the people join Ignite and meeting the people through Ignite is kind of huge. I like everyone I met. Like I can honestly say that, which is 72 people, 71 other people. It was a good batch of people, I will say. And even outside, I met some people from Ignite, I think that graduated a few years ago, just the other day. They have their own startup, and one's a Stanford student or was a Stanford student, one isn't. And I just immediately, yeah, I guess you can kind of tell. You speak a certain language, and you can, and it came up that like, oh yeah, we all did Ignite. So that's another network that you can tap into. It's just great people all around, and just everyone's super focused and super happy to be there, I think. And that's a really good energy to be around.
Great. So I'd now love to open it up for questions from all of you. So if you have any questions for the panelists or myself, as Moritz is doing, go ahead and raise your hand. Moritz, we'll start with you.
Thanks a lot. And sorry for pushing myself in front of everyone. Yeah, I already put it in the chat, but I would be really curious as a postdoc currently who plans to go and stay into academia as an independent group leader. Of course, that often entails also founding startups down the line, but that might be more like in 3 to 5 years. So I was wondering whether you could comment on whether the Ignite program helped you or how it helped for an academic career.
I can answer this one. So basically, I think academia is its own world and it's isolated from everything else. And learning how to think in the business world is a skill if you apply it in academia, whether it's for grants or how you deal with your PI, your postdocs, or like other people. It's you can use it everywhere. It's like a mindset. You understand how things work in life, and academia is also structured in a way where it's you have the financial aspects of it and how to strategize your research and how to communicate with people. Like you learn all these things in Ignite, even if you don't go for a startup, like even having your own labs for sort of entrepreneurship thing. So yeah, I think it really applies to different aspects of academia.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, also the other thing that I can add is some academic groups work with the private sector, and it's really good to have the business acumen in your mind when you are working with them, developing proposals for them, because they may care about things that we in academia care less, and it's good to better understand their mindset, their challenges in the real world, in the businesses. Because our group is also working with the private sector, and I am seeing the things that we learn in Ignite could be applicable in the aspects of collaboration. And also, Ignite includes some, I can say, general life skills. For example, we had negotiation course, which is applicable in all aspects of our general life. That's another reason I would say it's still very helpful to academics too. Thank you.
Great. Yui, we'll go to you next.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for sharing your experience and insights about the program. So I'm a second year PhD at Stanford right now, and now I have this startup idea and I want to bring to life. And I wonder, when you applied for Ignite, do you already have some ideas about a specific project? If so, how did you detail that in your application? If not, did you form your new idea, and how does it go? Because from Adele's presentation, you talked about how your startup is now in the funding round, that congratulations, that's awesome. And I just want to know about everyone's experience on that and any recommendations on how to bring that into the application. Thank you.
Thank you first. I unfortunately didn't get my idea approved in the Ignite program. And while the Ignite program and before the Ignite and after the Ignite, I've been working with my co-founders independently and we developed the idea. But I would say, as I remember, it wasn't required during the application process. Kelsey can confirm. It was required in the pre-program. It was among the pre-program tasks. And I would say spend time on presenting your idea in a way that convinces others that this is a really good idea, it's a great opportunity, and another aspect in terms of gathering attention could be to generalize it a little bit. Maybe a super technical topic that requires a deep expertise in a topic might not be interesting to many people in the group, so it will probably not be selected, I can say, unless you have a lot of other cohort, other peers that are in the same department or in the same group. So I would say it should be something that people are convinced that it's a good opportunity and they can make a connection with the idea. But everyone else, please feel free to add.
Yeah, I can add that it's Ignite is one of the courses at Stanford that teaches you how to debunk your idea and how to learn about what works and what doesn't. It's not just an incubator where you take your idea to make it a company immediately. So if that's the goal, there are many incubators. Ignite it can help you do it, but the main thing you learn is how to formulate an idea and see if it actually works in the real world and if people are interested in it, more than just immediately taking it to launch it into a startup, I guess.
Great. Yui, any other questions from you? All right.
Thanks.
Artus, will head to you next.
Sure. Thanks everyone for sharing all the great insights. I was curious to know on what the course breakdown was. So take your typical class day, how would it look like? Such as like, what's the breakdown between the actual program topics, such as marketing, accounting, finance, then working on improving public speaking, presentation skills, leadership, etc., and then the actual time working with your team and developing the product or idea.
Take this one. So week one was I have notes in front of me. Week one was like for us. It doesn't have to be for you, but week one for us is like marketing and accounting. A little bit of preview into design thinking, and those were just the lectures. At that point, we hadn't really done too much of the group work for our idea. I think we were still trying to form teams. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kelsey. Week two was ideation and design thinking again, with a check-in with Yossi, one of the faculty professors. Week three became finance and business models with the social event. Four was communication. I think those are boot camps. So we had coaches in there telling us what they observed and how we can improve. And they were pretty, the groups were pretty small with the coaching. I think it was just like 4 or 5 of us with one coach at a time. And so the feedback was very specific, which is we appreciated that. And 5 was negotiation, competitive strategy. Then 6, 7, 8, I'll just go a little faster. Equity, founders, economics, more communication, sustainability, and panels. Our final panels are pitches at the end. So I think Mark was saying this, it goes by super fast. You'll be in like week 3 or 4 and you'll realize you have half the program done already with like less than half in front of you. And then maybe, not that I did those, maybe start taking it more seriously because you realize, oh man, this is really cool stuff. But there's always a lot. And towards 5, 6, and 7, because we have those pitches coming up and those check-ins. I think that became more of a time when I put more emphasis on what the team I was working in was doing, and building the final pitch or project for presentation.
And to add to Stephen's point, for most of the classes, the lectures, you'll have cases to read. And obviously, if you want to get the most out of the class, it's helpful to do the cases. So you could spend anywhere from, if you're reading it quickly, like an hour, to like if you're reading it super detailed, more time. The cases were pretty substantial, like 30 to 40 page cases, and maybe you have two. And then also, I'd say each week or every other week, Kelsey, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, you'd have an assignment to get you to the final project. So in that homework assignment is obviously correlated to the lecture. So before our design thinking, we learned about what user interviews are so that you user test. And the homework is for your team to conduct 15 different interviews and then to, as a team, digest them. So I would say outside of the class, like there's the homework, there's the lectures, and then there's the readings, and then there's any other kind of outside team work that you choose to do. So it's one of those things where it's like you get out what you put in. So you can put in a little bit or you can put in a lot. But there's a lot to do each week, for sure.
All right, I'm seeing a question in the comments about the difference between part-time and full-time. So, I mean, it's the same curriculum. It's almost exactly the same faculty. The biggest difference is just the schedule. Part-time is stretched out over 8 weeks. Full-time is crammed into 4. So I qualify it kind of as one is a marathon, the other is a sprint. I think different cohorts can be, or different programs can be right for you depending on what your personal kind of learning preferences are, as well as just what your schedule situation is like. Panelists, I don't know if any of you have thoughts on why you picked part-time over full-time.
Yeah, for me, I just didn't want to stop my job for a month because that's not possible. We have to make progress every week, and I believe the full-time one requires 1 month of allocation, and that wasn't possible for me. And I believe for anyone who has a career and works full-time, I think the full-time program is a bit more difficult to handle.
Are there any other questions that anyone has to either raise your hand or type in chat? Something that we often get asked is about intellectual property. So the IP behind your idea, if you propose an idea to be a venture project at Ignite, nothing changes with ownership of that idea, or you still retain like the full IP rights to your own idea. You may, at the end of the program, choose to do something different. For example, decide that you're going to co-found the company for real with someone you met in Ignite, and you then work out your equity situation. But unless you do something like that, Stanford and the Ignite program don't gain any partial ownership of your idea by virtue of it being an Ignite. All right, then I think we will go ahead and wrap up. If any other questions do arise, feel free to reach out via email, and Jiaying and I will be happy to help you. Our email, I mean, you can reach out on the website, reply to any of the emails that you've received about the Ignite program or the info session, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. I hope that I'll be seeing applications from many of you in about a month. The application deadline is 1 month from today. So yeah, let us know if anything comes up. And otherwise, it was great to meet you all today. Thank you again to all of the panelists for joining and sharing your experience.